So, Mark the Movie Man here with the final cut. I'm here with Curtis Anthony Williams. We just watched his film the last weekend, and man, what a movie! I'm going to start off by just saying the way you started this off, like this noir, late '60s, '70s type of feel to it. With not only the music, which I'm a big jazz lover, so I love the music, but also the credits. But yet, it's set in modern times. What was the decision behind that?
Well, the decision, I think, we wanted to do something that was going to be evocative and more provocative. I mean, like we wanted to do something that was going to be not only illustrating to the audience like how to watch the movie, but also just to be something to celebrate the filmmaking a little bit. And I don't mean me, I mean like to all the people who were inspiring me that worked on the film. We wanted to just like why don't we just make it a dance? You know, like that. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like it's like, yeah, let's just put our two actors who are going to become lovers in this movie and put them in this beautiful slow-mo, and it kind of just grew from there. We always knew we wanted the entirety of the credits at the front because we wanted to signify the sort of noirish melodrama that we were going to be telling, and that's where it all came from.
And see, I love that because I think modern films miss the credit sequence. So many great films had great credit sequences, and you don't really see that till like the end. You don't even get the title card sometimes till the end.
Right, and I do think it's kind of a dying art, or maybe it's already dead, and we're trying to revitalize it. I don't know. I mean, I think of like some movies in like the '90s still were doing it. You know, the '90s independents were still doing it a bit. You think about like Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, and you have this like punchy dance number. I mean, that was like a pretty big like, if they can do it, I mean, maybe we could do it too. You know.
Sure. Now, you only shot this in 5 days, which is insane for indie film in general. How were you able to pull it off in 5 days? Was there a lot of rehearsal and stuff ahead of time, pre-production?
There wasn't that much rehearsal, but really what it came down to was the team that we had. We were all working together previously, so we were all very comfortable with each other. We all understood, and we all understood what we were trying to do. And I think the thing is that we did correctly is that everybody wanted to make the same movie.
Oh, sure.
Which is something that people don't talk about in the creative process. Like the best thing that a filmmaker can do is communicate the vision of the film so that everybody is making the same exact movie. And then once you're on that same page, then it kind of can flow out of you relatively effortlessly. We did do some rehearsals, but mostly that was like chemistry stuff for the actors. As far as the camera movements and stuff are concerned, that was just on the day. You know, like let's set it up. We'll try it once or twice or 3 times. So beyond that, it was like let's just shoot.
Well, it all comes across great. I loved your color palette in this film. It kind of moves a little bit from the beginning with the brighter dance number to a little bit more muted. As it goes along, it had that more noir feel. Was that kind of what you were going for with the color palette?
Yeah, I think that the color palette in the opening titles just was different because of the nature of shooting it that way. With that, we wanted to build sort of like a universe with lights. And so that just was like born from our amazing gaffer and our cinematographer and our key grip. It's Eli and Teague were just a dynamite team, and it's just like, what can we actually do in the studio space? You know, we had this big black cyc and the floor that was just like this reflective surface, and I was like, wow, what is it that we can just do? Let's have fun, you know. And then that's sort of where that came from. But everything else was pretty deliberate in its color palette. Our producer was also our art director, and he really had like from the genesis of the script, because he was right there with me. I mean, every one of my ideas went through Kyle, every single one of those ideas just sort of like inspired him to come up with ideas and everything like this, and everything just kind of grew onto a life of its own.
And did you do a special coloring for her hair? Because Sylvia's hair, out of everything, her hair continually stands out in every scene she's in.
Yeah, that was intentional. Also, Virginia DeWitt, who's the actress who plays it, and she also co-wrote and is one of the producers of the film. She came to me like 3 days before shooting, and she was like, I might have done a bad thing. I don't know. And I was like, wait, what happened? And she was just like, my hair. And she like sent me a photo and was like, it's brilliant.
Yeah,
It's like
it is.
it's perfect for the character who's sort of lost and like wanting for something, like wanting for like love or something like this. But then also just like it sets her on fire, which is like, well, it's the reason I had her do the hair flip at the beginning in that slow motion. Is like, let's let her up on fire. It's like she's gonna go through hell, and it was just an evocative choice that she wanted to do, and I loved it. I was so happy.
Oh, I loved it too. I thought it was very effective for her character, and it just added another layer, no pun intended, but another layer to everything. It goes to some dark places with your script, and I love the commentary you were making and what you brought up in the Q&A about toxicity and that. But were there some dark things that you may have came up with in the script initially that didn't make it into the film?
That's an interesting question. The answer is yes. I don't know how much I would like to reveal.
Well, you don't have to go into detail.
Yeah, no, but there were some very dark things. I don't want to put anything out there really because it would create spoilers for what happens. I'll just say that both characters had moments in the original script where some of the dark places it goes became a lot more public. And I decided to restrict their world down so that it became more insular or insulated, and it just sort of made them disconnect from reality a lot more. And that's all I'd like to say about it.
That's fine. I was just wondering because.
But yeah, definitely we did go darker. But then we just realized, like in order to really do a character, I think that's the other thing that we haven't talked much about yet is like. I want to do like character portrait stuff, I had these brilliant actors, and I thought it would be just like, almost blasphemous to put them in a place that was maybe less appropriate. I mean, it's already explicit enough, So,
and in your framing, and I'm not that big of a film guy. I watch a lot of films, but in your framing of all your shots, you kept things. It seemed very intimate with stuff. We never really get huge. Wide shots of everything. We're always staying in kind of medium to tight on everybody. Was that kind of keep everybody so the audience was with them, or was that just because of limited space?
No, I mean, actually, I have a tendency to think of it a little bit differently because most of my shots start in like a medium wide and move close. So for me, a lot of it was just to do with how I wanted to be keeping it like there's always a movement towards our characters, and that came from this idea that. Despite their differences, these two that meet, and despite the fact that like he's leaving town, it's his last weekend in town, I just wanted like gravity. To me, it's almost like a black hole. Like I wanted gravity to be constantly, the camera's collapsing on top of them the whole movie. That's more where that came from. And then also just like if I keep my actor, I really like two shots a lot. Because the chemistry between two people, like look at this, I mean, your audience will be able they connect us as opposed to like, and me being an editor, shot
it's easier
shot,
too.
It's like, well, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's far less about sculpting a performance in an edit, but it takes a lot of trust in the actors because you have to be able to trust and love their chemistry together. But as soon as I did like one rehearsal with Charlie and Virginia, I saw their affection for each other, and I mean, they're both two people that I loved already, and I got them in the same room, and I was just like, this is beautiful. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that I could look at the two of them in a frame together for that long. That's sort of where that is all.
Well, I don't want to keep you too long, but one final question with this is, what do you hope audiences possibly get out of this, or are you going to leave it up to their own interpretation at the end of what they should be getting out of the film?
Well, excuse me, I don't. The ambiguity of the film is in a couple of little details. The thematic nature of it, I think, is relatively obvious. But like Virginia said in our Q&A, we didn't want to make a didactic film that like said to the audience a moral thing. But what I really would like for people to do is just sort of like look at themselves in the mirror and like recognize your privileges and your toxicities, because that's the only way that you can grow and change out of them. And I think that that's the best thing that, especially in our culture today, that you can do.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for a wonderful film, folks. If it's playing at a fest near you, check out the last weekend. It's not even in my wheelhouse normally, and I really dug it. So I think you will too, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.